Hey platform, my name is Rosianna and I make videos about books, politics, growing up, all sorts of other things over on my YouTube channel. And today I'm going to be talking about how to be a critical reader. When I was doing A-levels, I enjoyed all of my subjects except for one, critical thinking. I loved studying English, Spanish and philosophy because those were subjects that I was really passionate about. But critical thinking was an AS level my school strongly encouraged us to take if we were applying to uni. It seemed really bland to me. It was a lot of looking at paragraphs to see what was wrong with them, and lots of definitions to learn about different kinds of problems with the paragraphs. In official critical thinking jargon and also in philosophy, these problems are known as fallacies. Now though, I use the things I learnt in that class every single day as I read books and newspapers, and even when I'm just watching videos on YouTube. What is being a critical reader and why is it important? Being a critical reader doesn't mean criticizing everything you read or being negative about it, but instead reading with the goal of understanding more of how what you're reading works, and when it doesn't. Often when we read or listen to or watch news stories, a persuasive argument is being made, and critical reading involves understanding how the argument is being put across, like what all the pieces in are, also the places where it falls apart a bit. The most persuasive writing plays into narrative and story. What's the story of your community, your country, and the whole human experience? Is there one? Is it definitive, set in stone, or is it still being created? I started to enjoy my critical thinking classes more when I properly processed the fact that critical reading wasn't just its own separate subject, but tied into English, Spanish, philosophy, and all the other subjects. Critical reading is part of their discussion and creation. So in English, it could be how do the characters behave in this context, and what is the structure of the story trying to tell me? In philosophy, what assumptions is Descartes or Hume making, and how they also sometimes central to the kinds of thoughts that they're sharing? In Spanish, what role, if any, did propaganda play in the Mexican Revolution or the Spanish dictatorship? And whose voices did we not hear? I love books with multiple narrators, and one of my favourite authors is Zadie Smith, whose books, including White Teeth, made me a more critical reader in how it set up one character, made you feel so much empathy for them and their situation, and then moved on to the next, challenging at every corner my capacity to judge and empathise with others. Another brilliant and more recent read is Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. This novel has a generational structure, begins in Ghana before it's even called Ghana, and follows the impacts of events like the transatlantic slave trade through the descendants of the family line. The book was beautifully written, but it also felt like a really valuable history lesson, highlighting by its very telling all of the voices that had been left out of history, and compelling me to consider who have been the loudest voices when we tell stories about our countries, our planet, and our way of being. Bernardine Evaristo's Blonde Roots and Octavia Butler's The Parable of the Sower also concern the slave trade, but are examples of how books from all genres can help make us better critical readers. Evaristo's falls under many genres, but probably most aligns itself with satire. Butler's books are most commonly found in the sci-fi section. On the non-fiction side of things, Tim Marshall's Prisoners of Geography uses maps, the way they're created, the way we think about and share them, to prompt discussion about how we see ourselves and others. Yuval Noah Harari explores the history of the Homo sapien in Sapiens, along with the social role storytelling plays in human experience. Naomi Klein's This Changes Everything tackles climate change and how we're thinking and not thinking about our world. I love reading books about subjects like geography, anthropology, social science, other science, because they give me a broader perspective and vocabulary for thinking critically, and engage with ideas from directions I wouldn't have thought of. Critical reading and thinking puts a spotlight on things in our life that we don't expect to have bias of any kind or spend long thinking about. Even books I read as a child, like The Tale of Two Bad Mice by Beatrix Potter, confront the complexities of good and bad in their very narrative about mice breaking into a doll's house over the course of this very short book, which subtly goes from the narrator's objective and somewhat judgmental perspective to the perspective of the mice and their family. Over on my channel at youtube.com/Rosianna, I've made a video about Post-Truth, The New War on Truth and How to Fight Back by Matthew D'Ancona, which came out this month. That's all from me, and don't forget to subscribe to Platform for a new video every Thursday. Bye!